Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host Tony Cañas going on way too much caffeine today and switching to my radio voice. Today I have with me Andrew Filar,
Yes,
managing partner and
pronounced correctly.
CEO, awesome, managing partner and CEO at Peachy Insurance and co-founder at the Next Call Club. Andrew, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Things are great. Thanks so much for having me, Tony. I love your
Oh,
content. I've seen you at the events. You're easy to spot. So things are great. It's hump day, and we're getting ready to kind of hit the back half of the week. So thanks for having me.
perfect. My pleasure. So you are, according to LinkedIn, Atlanta-based. Which I theoretically am Atlanta based also, although I think that you actually are like an Atlantan, or at least you've been for a while. While for me, Atlanta is kind of like Delta home base, and I've paid rent there, a few years. Right now, I am the proud renter of a storage unit in Atlanta. But other than that,
All
I'm
right.
basically in Buenos Aires right now. But someday we'll go back. Uh, I am curious, as I've been sitting here in Buenos Aires where it's winter. Basically, we're recording on August 23rd, and July was the hottest month in human history. And I spent it here where it was winter, and it was like 55 to 60 degrees pretty much every day. So I really can't complain. But I'm assuming that in Atlanta, it was like 195 degrees and
It hasn't
225
been too
humid.
too bad. It's been in the low 90s, high 80s, which yes is hot, but compared to some of the temperatures in Texas or Florida, I can't complain too much. Atlanta has a
Yeah,
lot of greenery, a lot of shade.
low 90s is fine if you do summers the way that I do summers, which is basically I don't go anywhere in Atlanta
Yeah, exactly. Stay
other
inside.
than the airport. Take the MARTA to the airport as much as I get out.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Andrew, from my perspective, I'm not sure when we connected on LinkedIn. I'm gonna actually look that up real quick. It looks like we connected on LinkedIn in November of 2022. So we've been connected on LinkedIn for about 8 months, 9 months. And in those 9 months, from my perspective, you came out of nowhere, literally nowhere, and started posting just a whole bunch of awesome stuff that has caught my eye time after time after time after time. Okay. And so your LinkedIn, your LinkedIn tagline says 10,000 hours of lead management experience. So the first thing that it makes me think of is you sell leads. The
I help
second thing,
people
but
buy leads. Yep.
okay, that's better because yeah, I have not found a
Hmm.
single lead salesperson before that was useful. Then again, I've never been an agent.
Ah,
Uh, okay, uh, growing to 100 million in insurance premiums, helping small business owners scale through outbound sales. Okay, perfect. So uh, we always give the guest the chance to give the elevator pitch. What is the Next Call Club?
yeah. So happy to walk you through that. So yes, to be specific, I am not a lead seller. I think the perception of lead sellers, in the overall insurance industry is not necessarily a good one. And so, if I really broke down what I think a lot of insurance agents struggle with, especially if they're an agency owner, not a one-man show, but even people who are just kind of solo individual contributors, is that they have a hard time generating enough qualified prospects to talk to. So naturally they turn to leads. But then they have a very common type of journey with leads. They spend a bunch of money on the leads, they don't get the leads on the phone, or if they do get them on the phone, maybe they're not qualified or very interested. Or maybe they're buying the leads and they're just kind of sitting in their inbox or sitting in their CRM and they're never getting called. So I help to solve both of those issues. So I've been buying leads for the last 10 years, buying them thousands of leads per day for my own insurance agency because I have an insurance agency as well on the property and casualty side. But I work with other insurance professionals to help them buy leads better and cheaper. And then I also help build outbound sales teams to call those leads and deliver them effectively. And as a result, people who work with me are generally able to get their cost per lead down and their overall cost per quote down as well, even with bringing on a full-time person to call and transfer those leads to their salespeople, so their salespeople can do what they do best, which is sell.
All
All good.
right. Okay, so you don't sell leads, you help people buy leads, and
Correct.
especially you help people build outbound sales teams to handle those leads better. Okay,
Correct.
so let's talk a little bit about the leads. What is a good lead in insurance? Because like I said, I've never been a broker, I've never been an agent, I've never worked in an agency, but I have heard complaints over and 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 over that leads are rarely actually turned into business. So what's the secret to a good lead?
So, I think defining a good lead is an interesting exercise. And the reason I say that is because a good lead can mean a different thing to a lot of different people. To me and my team, what a good lead, first and foremost, more than anything else, is a lead who picks up the phone and is the right person. So, if they pick up the phone and it's the person that the lead says it is, to me, that's a good lead. Because at the end of the day, right, we talk about sales and we say, all we're looking for is an opportunity to pitch somebody. And I think what happens is that a lot of people buy leads and they get a lot of wrong numbers, or they get a lot of numbers that aren't in service, or people who immediately say, take me off your list. That's one problem. The other one is they get people on the phone and they're like, well, no, I called the leads and none of them were interested. And I think that's a greater issue with the lead industry as a whole, right? Maybe the person did shop online, but they went through an experience where they thought they'd get a quote on their computer. Now their phone's ringing. Maybe that lead's been sold 10 or 9, 9 or 10 times, and their phone's
So the
blown
phone's
up,
been
and they're just
ringing
over it, right? But to me,
35 different people,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
They
exactly,
thought they were going to get a quote, and then they have 35 phone calls. Anyway, continue.
right. Because what happens is the average lead provider says, "Oh, we'll sell the lead 3 times." Maybe they sell it to an independent agent, maybe they sell it to a State Farm agent, and then they sell it the third time to a lead seller, who then sells it 4 more times, who sells it 3 more times, right? And that's how these things happen. And so there's a lot of things that we can do on our side to help prevent that from happening. And that's the first problem. The second problem, though, is what happens when the person picks up and just says, I'm not interested. Is that a bad lead? I would say that's a good lead, because that means you have an opportunity to convince them that it's worth talking to you for several minutes, to talk about your product or services.
Okay, okay. So I run an agency, or a listener runs an agency, and they've been successful themselves. Maybe they inherited the agency from dad, and right, dad built a book, knocking on doors kind of thing, and sponsoring the local high school football team.
Right.
And then I've continued building the agency, and we've had good growth. And I built it kind of like Better Business Bureau kind of thing, or like local chamber, right? Local chamber golfing kind of thing. And then COVID happened, and even before COVID, we had been slowing down, and COVID happened, and post COVID, like we're not growing anymore, right? And like we have two or three producers who were really good, and they have solid books with us, but no longer growing. And the last couple producers we've hired just did not validate,
Yeah,
right? So I think it's a fairly common story, basically, all over the country,
for
and
sure.
and so we want to do it differently. We're ready to try a new way. How can you help us?
So, I hear that type of situation all the time. And here's what I'll say is that, even though I really believe in using, internet leads to build an insurance business, or really like any type of B2C business, home services, mortgages, any of these types of things, internet leads, exist in all types of different industries. Here's what I'll say is that networking still works. It absolutely still works for different types of insurance. But if you're going to do it in the B2C space, or if you're doing property and casualty or personal lines, networking works well more than ever, but it needs to be digital, right? I'm talking Nextdoor, Facebook groups, all these types of areas. Doing it in person is a lot harder than it used to be, not only because we had the slowdown with COVID, but also because a lot of personal lines agencies network with mortgage lenders to send a lot of business over. But with the housing market and the interest rates being what they are, those have slowed down too. And so a lot of people are turning to leads. And so they're going to the big lead providers, which is no problem. I buy from a lot of the big lead providers like the EverQuotes, or, the Quote Wizards, or, Quote Storms, those types of companies. But they think that the leads are the start of the process, when really the leads are kind of more towards the end of the process. People buy the leads and they think that the leads are going to be magic. And then they don't have success with them and they say the leads suck. And then I built my agency 100%, well, I shouldn't say 100%, but 95% off leads. We started scratch in 2018. We're around 32 million in personal lines premium 5 years later. 95% of that growth was from internet leads.
Hold on,
Yeah.
hold on. I- there's no way I heard this correctly. Okay, so you look roughly. I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. And I'm gonna say 30, but you
Sure.
look like 27, right? Maybe younger.
I'm
Um,
32
and,
years
and
old.
okay, okay, and you built a scratch to $32 million personal lines agency over how long?
5 years, 32 million in premium
In 5 years,
in
and
5 years.
and largely on internet leads.
Probably 95% on internet leads and outbound calling.
Okay, so I would have told you 5 years ago that this wasn't
Hmm.
doable. Uh,
Yeah.
I and also looking at your LinkedIn. Okay, so basically, you spent a year and a half at State Farm, at a
I
State Farm
did.
agency, and
Yep.
then you came over to I don't know if we can say the name. From my perspective, we can, but
Mm.
you go to what I think is an independent. Uh, did you start it from scratch? The independent
So
that you joined
it
after
was
State
actually
Farm?
it's actually an Allstate agency. It's the largest Allstate agency in the country. And so I went over there at 2015 when it was already the largest Allstate agency in the country. And when I
Okay.
stepped into to a role there, every part of the marketing was inbound. So they did a lot of those community type of
Mm-hmm.
strategies that you explained. Sponsored every little league baseball team in town, billboards. Very active in the community, chamber of commerce. On boards, everything, and then a lot of direct mail in the local communities. And
Mm-hmm.
that had worked really well for a really long time. The issue was is that while it was working well, the marketing, the return on ad spend was good. They just couldn't get enough of it. It was not scalable enough to write enough business. And at the time, enough business looked like 300 to 400, policies per month to grow at a rate of 5 to 6%. So when I came in, I basically took this mindset of, hey, I don't want to do inbound. I want to do outbound. I came in as a salesperson, and at State Farm,
Okay.
I started by
Mm-hmm.
cold calling businesses to get their commercial auto insurance. And so that's where I learned. It was really hard. It sucked, but I eventually figured it out. Along with a couple people that I worked with, and then I started buying internet leads, and a lot of them were the crap that we talk about. But again, was able to say, hey, if somebody answers the phone, even if it's a wrong number, which you have to be really careful with now with TCPA laws, I would say, hey, I'm gonna shoot my shot no matter what. So when I came over to work at this Allstate agency, it's the largest agency in the country, 100% inbound, can't get enough business. I installed the outbound process. So I started as a sales representative for 2 or 3 months, started selling through outbound on internet leads. And
Mm-hmm.
the owner came to me and said, hey, I basically want you to become the sales manager, and I want you to turn the whole sales team into outbound. So I had
Okay. So
15
so so, so
legacy salespeople
basically,
who were used to the phone ringing.
basically, you're like 26, working at
I
the
was
largest
23.
Allstate.
I was
Okay, you're
23.
23, working at the largest Allstate in the country, and very quickly became their top salesperson. So the owner goes, you know what? The traditional way isn't working. This kid's somehow doing it. Teach us your ways, and makes you director of sales.
Correct. Yep.
How did the other producers
Say that
take
again.
that 23? How did the other agents take the 23-year-old who's been here for 5 months becoming the sales leader?
It was tough, right? It was tough. And I think I was self aware enough at the time to realize that I was, this
And
kid compared to
and by the
them.
way, by the way, like I want to point out because this is important. This is not filler insurance. This is not grandpa's. Like you're not the kid or the grandson of the guy
Right. Not a
that gave
family
you a
member.
very quick. Okay, not a family member. You came in off the street. Okay.
Correct.
Continue.
Yeah. And you know, credit to the owner because he was one of those guys who was like, look, I'm going to give people opportunities to grow. So, you know, it's yes, that can be impressive for me, but it's also impressive to the owner who
Oh,
gave me a
absolutely.
place to experiment and fail and understand that wow, there's something here. So when I brought that process over to those 15 legacy producers who were used to kind of sitting with their hands out for the phone to ring, it went about as poorly as you could
Uh,
expect,
uh,
right? You want me to cold
Aggressively
call? You want
waiting
me to
for
go?
the phone.
Yeah, exactly, right. And so,
They were
you
used
know,
to
trying to get them
aggressively
to make
waiting for the phone to
outbound,
ring.
yeah,
Okay,
trying to
so
get them to
so
make
so
outbound calls, near impossible. So what we
so okay.
did,
So at most agencies, hold on, at most agencies, we have a bunch of like 45, 50-year-old producers who are very good at outbound. And then they hire the 23-year-old, and the 23-year-old, regardless of what incentives they put in front of him, just will not dial the phone, right?
right,
Like they're deathly afraid of making a phone call, basically, right? And here you had the exact opposite. You had the 23-year-old being very successful dialing the
yeah,
phone to leads, and the 15 years of experience others who were used to aggressively waiting for the phone to ring, very unhappy with the changes. Okay, so continue.
correct, correct. So the way we bridged that gap was that we
Okay,
had brought in some new,
you're
younger
frozen right
salespeople,
now, so I'm waiting for you
and
to get
I set
back.
the expectation. Look, when you come in to sell here, you dial, and yes, you're going to get hung up on. Yes, you're going to have objections, but that's okay, right? Because we have something amazing to offer them. We are calling them to help them improve their coverage, save them
Allstate.
money. Allstate.
Okay, okay. Captive Allstate. The only thing you have is your large Allstate, but you don't have something amazing. You've got the world's most common product, like short of State Farm.
Right.
So okay, continue.
So that's what we said. And so these young people came in with that expectation and dialed, and they did it very well.
Oh,
And so the way
so
we
so
bridged the gap
the existing
was
agents left fairly quickly.
so not quite. So the way we bridged the
Okay.
gap was we realized we had these existing kind of legacy agents who knew a ton about the products, insurance. They had gone through life events. So we had these young guys who could sell. They were, you know, scrappy. So in the short run, what we did is we put all the new people, and they basically started calling the leads. We'd get them on the phone and transfer them to the experienced reps and listen to them at the same time.
Okay.
And then we started to realize, well, we have something here, right? We can have people who are full time outbound help the people who already know what they're doing stay on the phone all day long while they learn the business. And that way we're not just spending money for 4 months training them, they're adding value to the organization. And so that's how
Mhm.
we moved to a model where every time somebody would come in, whether they were licensed or needed to get their license, they would start as an outbound caller for us. And they had a goal of making,
And
you know,
I've got to
three to
say,
500 calls a day.
you're getting them. Some are going to burn out. Some are not going to make it. But
Absolutely.
those that make it, by the time they're fully on the floor, by the time they're licensed, they're through the hardest part, which is the
Exactly.
10,000 rejections they got last month, right? So
Exactly.
by the time they're licensed, the rest is fairly easy. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, and that's what we said, right? We said, look, by the time you end up on the phone, you've gone through the hardest part. Getting them to take the quote is the hardest part. Closing the sale, I promise you, is easier. And so it was a nice inroad, right? So when you asked that question about the 15 legacy salespeople, over the next 2 years, about 80% of them either moved into different roles in the agency or left. A couple people
Okay,
adapted. But what
makes
happened two
sense.
years later was that all these outbound callers got licensed and graduated, and then we had a full sales team that was used to making outbound calls, and that was just part of our culture. And
But by the
then we
way,
moved to a yeah,
um, so this was in Florida. You're now in Georgia.
yeah,
I'm very much assuming
correct.
for now that you left Florida because there was a hit on you from all the formerly successful salespeople who left because of you. Anyway, continue.
No, I mean I tried to win them over, right? I tried to say, look, you know a lot more about a lot of things than I do. Here's how I can help you be successful, right? And so I didn't try to go in and say, look, I'm 23, then later 24. I'm going to try to be your boss and act like I know everything. I knew that that wouldn't work, right? So they really loved these outbound callers because they were feeding them
Of
prospects all
course.
day long,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, of course.
But once you get to a point where everybody's dialing except for the few leftover people. You got to say, all right, guys, need you to kind of get on the train, or we need to do something different. And so we did that model for a number of years. So our callers were always our kind of like junior salespeople, so to speak. And then we got to a point where we just looked at the math and we said, look, even if we're paying our outbound callers, call it $20 an hour, it's worth the money and the investment to have a team of people who do this full time as their job, not as a stepping stone, but as their job. And
It's
so
a crappy
we've
job.
done that for the last couple of years as well.
It's a crappy job, right? I don't know if you've seen my
It's
tier
hard.
list of
It's
insurance.
hard for sure.
Uh, I don't know if you've seen my tier list of insurance jobs video, but
I haven't. I need
that
to check it out.
like State Farm telemarketer, although or I think it referred to it. I was thinking of State Farm, but I referred to it as exclusive agency telemarketer, $10 an
Yeah.
hour, no benefits, just calling 1,000 times a day, and non-standard auto claims are the two
Right.
lowest in the totem pole. They're the two crappiest jobs in the industry, basically.
Yep.
Okay, so I definitely at some point want to talk about what kind of career path for those people, because you're torturing them for
For
a
sure.
while. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So basically, fast forward to a few months ago, I launched Next Call Club, and I knew that I wanted to consult and help agents, but I wanted to find something that was a little bit different than what I thought was out there. And I tried to think about what are things that I'm really, really good at. I'm really good at lead management. I know the lead industry very well. I know how, and then once we have the lead, I know how to maximize the value of that lead. I said we do outbound, at least by phone, very, very well. We're mostly doing B2C, but we do some commercial B2C as well. We will get to a point where we're doing that at scale. We're just, in the captive world, you don't have a lot of markets, so it's been an area we haven't spent a ton of time.
Yeah, you
It
have
will
one
get
market.
there. Yeah, exactly, right. So it's mostly property and casualty plus life and retirement, and that's mostly B2C. So we got to a point where I said, look, I think that I can combine the consulting to help people buy leads better, cheaper and better, plus helping them build an outbound team. And so with the outbound team, I learned pretty early that when I first got started, I wanted to help agents build it themselves in their agency. And I still do that. But what I quickly figured out is that the average insurance agency owner either doesn't have the time to do it, or they're maybe needing a little bit more help from a technological standpoint. So we added in a turnkey solution as well, where we will basically say, hey, if you want to hire us to have an outbound caller, we'll help you buy the leads and we'll provide the outbound caller. And all you got to do is just tell us where to send them, and you'll get 15 to 25 live transfers per day. And our whole value proposition is that if you go to one of these big providers, you might pay 60, 70, $100+ for a live call. And our value proposition is to get that to about 20 to 25 bucks per call. And we do that by we basically hire specifically for the client. So I don't have a call center somewhere full of people where I'm just like, hey, you, and you, come work here. When somebody contracts with me, I make sure I always tell people it's a minimum 6 months, because I'm going to go post a job, recruit somebody. They're going to pass background in case you want them to get licensed. We're going to hire them, send them equipment, and train them. And we do it fully US based. And they get paid anywhere from $16 to $20 an hour plus benefits. And that's what we do. So we're able to find people who are driven and motivated and good at the job. And there's a lot of burnout, right? But because we're trying to pay them $17 or $20 an hour with we give them health insurance, vision, dental, there's time off, there's a 401k match, and we provide these benefits because we want people to say, hey, this isn't just some crappy $10 an hour job where I get maybe 10 extra dollars if I get a transfer or something. I want them to say, like, wow, this might be a stepping stone, but at least while I'm here, I don't feel like I'm being impoverished by this employer. And so
Are they
that's how
remote?
we start. 100% remote. All US based, 100% remote. And so it's a great
Yeah.
opportunity for people who maybe live in a rural area where that's a job that pays more, right? Or maybe they're living with mom and dad.
What do they tend to
It
have?
doesn't matter. We require no sales experience. All we
So
want is
how do you
somebody
screen them?
so what we do is we throw a job ad out there, and The job ad is written in a way where we're trying to attract the right person. And of course, being in recruiting, right? Some people don't even look at the job ad. But I've made a commitment that if somebody applies to the job, they're going to get a message from me or someone on my team. And the message basically says, look, and I think I made a LinkedIn post about this, is that, look, thank you for applying. Thank you for your interest. Here's an assessment. It'll take you less than 15 minutes. Take the assessment. Doesn't matter what the score is, as long as it doesn't come back invalid, as long as you didn't just randomly click, we will set up a phone call with you. Half the people don't ever do that assessment. So maybe 100 people apply, I'll message all 100, 70 respond. Of those 70, maybe 35 take the assessment. We throw a calendar link in, they schedule a call. We get on a pre-screen call with them. And it's a 15-minute call. We ask them 2 questions. We say, tell us a little about yourself and what you're looking for in your next opportunity. And then we listen to them, we listen to what they're looking for, we listen to their energy, listen to what they're looking for, are they well-spoken? And you don't need a college degree, you don't need to have a certain type of background, you don't need sales experience. We're just looking for those types of things. Is somebody willing to work hard, wants to grow, and sounds good on the phone? Like, did it sound like they've done the minimal prep required for this phone call? Or are they laying in bed, kind of talking like this, right? And so if we think that they're a fit, we'll start to tell them about the role. If we don't think they're a fit, we'll just tell them right then and there. We don't want to waste their time. We'll just say, look, here's why we don't think you're a fit. And we're very upfront that, look, a lot of times this is a role that people stay in for 6 to 12 months. It's used as a stepping stone. It's a great way to get phone experience, outbound experience. And then we talk about development, right? Because you said, what's the career path like for people? So one of the reasons that we do this US-based is because a lot of people will use this as a launch pad to get their insurance license and become a producer in insurance. So that's an easy path. That's an easy path, right? And we will pay for them to get their license. So we'll cover the cost of the test, the course, everything, right? Because we want them to feel like that's an option. And when we do that, we always say, look, but that's not the only option. We've had people work as an SDR with us for 12, 18 months, and then use that as a way to leverage their way into a BDR, SDR role in tech. Because they have that outbound experience and they have some sales experience. And so what we always talk about, whether it's at the insurance agency, Peachy, or whether it's at Next Call Club, is that we want you to want to grow. And we want to help support that growth. And even if that means that the growth is not with us, that's okay. Because if you want to grow and we help you get there, that's a win for you, that's a win for us. And it's been working out really, really well, and I have a lot of people say, like, hey, why don't you do offshore in like the Philippines or nearshore in South or Latin America? And I have no problem with, people who work in those countries. I use some employees for kind of like other tasks that aren't phone related. But the reason I don't do that is just because I want there to be a path towards getting licensed to become a producer.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. How many people? How many producers have you built from scratch?
Oh, sheesh, man. Over the last 8 years, at least 30 or 40, if not more.
Okay, that's not bad.
And then
it's not bad.
I could point to 10 plus people in tech, who used that role, whether directly from the SDR role into tech or went into sales and then went into tech.
That is good. That is very good.
Yeah.
You skipped over part of the story. So somehow, back at the agency in Florida, you end up leading sales, then leading operations, then COO, and then I can only assume that the owner died of COVID, because in December
he's alive. He's alive and well.
2020, okay. How did you end up being CEO of the agency?
So
did you marry the daughter?
No, I am not a part of the family. So what I will say is that, again, credit to him. He forward-looking.
I want to have him on the podcast to tell his version of this story.
Yeah. So he's probably in his late 60s now. But at the time when I came in, he had just had his 30th year as an agent owner. And he was just at a point where he's like, look, I don't want to do this every single day anymore, but I don't want to sell my business either. And so his son, Charlie, became the CEO when I was director of sales. And so him and I have a really good relationship. And we hit it off early in the tenure. And so he was CEO for a while, and then he came to me when at the time I was COO. He came to me and said, "Hey, I want to step away. Would you step into the CEO role?" And I said, are your parents cool with that as the owners, it not being someone in the family? He said, totally support it. So that's kind of how it happened, right? His son became the CEO, and I worked
Okay.
under his son, in leadership
So,
roles, and
so you
his
became
son was very
CEO
much
at
in
29.
2016. Yeah, so I was CEO at 29. His son was CEO in 2016. So, but yes, I was 29 years old. Yeah.
Okay. So you made it. Holy crap, you made it.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful story. Like, sit down, write the book. We all want to know the story. Uh, Insurance Nerds would totally publish that book, by the way. Would push the crap out of that book. Uh, okay. 29, you make it the CEO. You're there for 2 years.
Yes.
COVID happens, but COVID had already
Yep.
happened by the time you made CEO. Okay.
Yeah.
And at 31, you have a midlife crisis and give up your CEO role and go start a new agency. You were already running the next call club. Why
So
would you
yeah,
leave?
so again, I think very fortunate, right? So if you look at when Peachy was founded was 2018. So there's some overlap there, right?
Ah,
I was
okay, okay. So,
operating as CEO of
of an Allstate.
of an Allstate, and then my agency is an Allstate as well. So 0 to 32 million Allstate, 5 years,
So,
and
Peachy is an Allstate agent
it is, yes.
to this day. You
Yes,
are a
I am the
captive.
principal. I am
Okay,
the principal agent of Peachy. Yes,
okay. Peachy is a captive $32 million personal lines book
yes,
built in the last 5 years. That is
correct.
absolute insanity.
And I'm going for
Absolute
100.
insanity.
So
That,
yeah, so that's
does Allstate
and
have the best rates in Georgia, like compared to all of the independents,
you
compared
know
to State Farm?
I'd be lying to you if I said they weren't pretty good. They're pretty good. Um, but what I will say is that I think a big part of it is more of the mindset of outbound. I've got 20 producers now. I had 8 for the first couple of years, then I went to 15, and now I'm at 20 producers. And we have a heavy emphasis on outbound. So I have 6 outbound callers for my team, provided by Next Call Club. And those 6 people get about 100 to 120 live transfers to my sales team a day.
Okay.
And then they quote 2 to 3 lines, and then those producers quote 2 to 3 lines. So 240 to 300 lines are getting quoted a day. And so you can start to see how the production flows through.
Okay. I had a conversation just yesterday with no, it was today. I had a conversation today with a Allstate agent. I won't say which state at risk and he's been an agent for 3 years. He had really successful sales experience prior. He opened an Allstate agency. This was his first insurance foray, and I was interviewing him for a different role, completely outside of
Yeah.
for a sales manager role, basically, within insurance, but outside of Allstate, and basically, like, his agency hasn't taken off, and I basically told him, I think that you would do fantastically at an independent agency. He wasn't a good fit for the job that I'm recruiting for, but I'm like, I think you're a wonderful salesperson, and I think that you would do fantastically well at an independent agency. My guess is the problem. The problem is that just the exclusive, the captive model is dead because it's too expensive to bring in the leads when you can only write a small percentage of them, when you can only write 25% of them, and his answer was, I can only write maybe 10% of them. Yeah, you can broker out the rest through Advantage, but you get 5% commission on that, right? That's just not profitable, and it doesn't count for your goals. Uh, Holy crap! I take it back.
Yeah,
Right,
so
like,
here's the and this is where me helping agents buying leads comes in, is because to the point is that people say, look, I get all these leads and I can only maybe write 10% of them. Well, the reality is that if I buy 100 leads, we might sell two of those leads today. So the key is, how do we find the right 100 leads that are going to answer the phone, that are going to fit within our guidelines, and pay the right amount for them. But if you're buying, if you're just buying leads from a major provider and you're paying $8, $10, $12, $15 a lead, and you can't target the way that you want to target because they don't give you the ability to, or they don't give you the guidance or advice that they should be, or you just simply don't know because you're new, and that's okay too, right? We all have to learn. I didn't know what I was doing for the first 3 or 4 years of buying leads, right? That's why I say 10,000 hours. It's about finding the ones that fit in your guidelines, and I'll give you an example of that. Is that Georgia's rates have been good, but they're tightening all the RMPs, so the guidelines are getting a lot tighter. And because the way that we buy leads, right, is that we buy leads through 20 to 25 different providers. And people say, that's crazy. How do you buy through how do you keep track of all of it? Well, the answer is I have a full-time analyst dedicated to helping me do it. He gets paid very well, and he's a full-time analyst that helps me market, target, set the right prices, and negotiate with vendors, right? And we do this together. And what I would say is that we know these changes are coming next week. We already adjusted all of our marketing, right? We know exactly all the levers to pull because we've gone through so many rate cycles and underwriting cycles over the last 10 years. And the reality is if you're just trying to buy leads on your own and you're not able to target, or you don't know how to target the right way, there's no way you can make money. But I mean, we acquire an item right now for like $50 an item through internet leads.
What kind of commitment? So you said 6 months, 6 months commitment to work with Dexco.
For the caller program, it's 6 months because I'm hiring a person, right, for you, and I don't want to have to hire and fire somebody after 6 weeks because that's a person, right?
So give me a number. So how much is the minimum?
So what I always tell people, the best way I say to people is if you want me to help you buy leads, you're probably we typically start you around $6 a lead and need you to buy about 20 leads per day. So $120 per day, and we never turn them off, right? So it's weekend, so it's probably $3,000 a month, but the idea is to create a strong positive ROI immediately, break even or positive immediately. And I always tell people that the way that I do the lead buying consulting is that I take a fee per lead. It's a flat fee per lead. So it's in my best interest for you to pay as little for that lead as possible, because the cheaper your lead, the more leads you buy within budget, the more you win, the more I win. So we're aligned.
Per lead, okay,
So fee per lead, right? Not a percentage.
Okay.
Not so where it's like if I sell you a lead for $20, my percentage is higher. Flat fee. So
fantastic.
All in,
the interest.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So all in, we try to start people around $6. If we can get volume where we need it to be, we'll start to negotiate that price down with the vendor.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't, we'll negotiate up. But usually, because we have 25 people we work with, we can usually find volume the way we need to find it. So that's the first thing. On the outbound calling program, my fee is $12.50 per month, right? But there's a caveat. My fee is $12.50 per month for 6 months. So $12.50 per caller that you have. So if you have 2, it's $2,500. If you have 3, it's $37.50, and it's a 6-month agreement. However, that is not the total investment. The total investment is about $6,500 per month per caller, and the reason for that is because there's a wage, which we pass through. There's taxes and benefits, which we pass through. They get a bonus for hitting performance, which we pass through, and then you have to buy leads to supply to them to make sure. But even at $6,500 per month, our goal is to get you 300 plus live transfers per day to get you to a cost per transfer about $20 to $25. And so sometimes people say, look, that's a lot of money, and I agree it is. But if you're trying to grow your agency and you're using live transfers to do it, or internet leads to do it, or you're doing community stuff and you can't scale enough, the idea is that if you could pay $20 to $25 for a household to be quoted, and you can quote 2 or 3 lines, you're at $10 a quote. Those are some very strong economics to help you acquire at a profitable rate.
Andrew, we are running out of time here, but my mind is blown, officially blown. You can't see the fact that my brain caught on fire because I'm wearing the hat, basically.
Okay.
But my mind is officially blown. I have been talking for a decade about how the captive agency model is dying.
Hmm.
and you have free, and while I'm talking about it, about how the captive model is dying without having my license myself, by the way,
Yeah.
and with no interest of selling insurance. I love the other side of the industry, the carrier side and the recruiting side and the insurtech side. Um, so while I've been talking about how the captive model is dying, you have single-handedly proven me wrong. And this is freaking incredible. Absolutely freaking incredible. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sleep. This is so mind-boggling. I can't wait to get back to Atlanta probably next spring.
Yeah.
I have to go see the operation, although that sounds like most of it is remote.
We're
This is
remote.
freaking
Yeah, but we'll go get a nice
this is
dinner or some
this
drinks. So
absolutely, absolutely. This is freaking amazing. Uh, for the listeners, if you are an agency principal of some sort and you made it all the way here in the call, just freaking go ahead and like schedule a call with Andrew. This is uh, just like nothing I've seen before. Assuming you're not entirely just a complete con man and really good at blowing smoke up my tailpipe, so to speak. Uh, I am going to coin you. I'm going to give you a nickname.
sure,
You
you may
are,
have it.
in my book, I will save your contact info as the wolf of Allstate.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
And
I don't know if I
I'm
could
assuming you
trademark
have
it.
to. Uh, you should absolutely. I'm gonna go buy the domain immediately. Uh,
Go
the
buy it.
the but someday you'll write the book, and I will sell the domain name to. I'll wait until they make it into a movie, and then I'll sell the domain name.
You're gonna
So I'll have to make
squat. You're
sure.
gonna squat on the domain.
I want to
I
squat on
love
the
it.
domain. Exactly, exactly. That's my long term bet on you. This is freaking mind blowingly amazing. Uh, we're running out of time, but I'm really really curious. And I almost feel like we should stop recording and then I should ask you. So feel free to ask me to cut this last part if you want to. That's why we don't record live. I am curious. Are you going to take this into the commercial line side, the independent agency commercial line side? Because if you can train somebody to grind through personal lines leads, you can totally do the same for much more profitable independent agency commercial lines.
Yeah, so I'll answer that question straightforward. Yes. So I work with Allstate agents, I work with farmers agents, State Farm agents, and I don't have any independent customers yet, but that's not because I don't think the model will work. It's just because I mostly know captive agents. And what I would say is that yes, I do think this model works. I started by cold calling commercials, not leads, cold calling, and that can work too. So yes, I will bring it to commercial and an independent. If it's a personal lines agency, it can work right now, whether it's with leads or just the callers. What I'll say is that with commercial, what we're working on building out on commercial side is that we're also looking to add in, using LinkedIn and other digital types of platforms as ways to prospect, because that it is B2B in a lot of cases, right? So getting that business owner or getting the right person to talk to can be tough. I think similar with like workplace benefits types applications, phone is not always the best way to do that. So we're working on perfecting that before we say, hey, we'll prospect on LinkedIn or digital, right? But phone, absolutely, it can work. Would be more than happy and excited even to talk with independent or commercial agents as well. And I think just two things I'll just say in general is the first thing is that I have gotten a tremendous amount of help in my career, a tremendous amount of mentorship, tremendous amount of opportunity. I think I've had a lot of luck. I think I've worked really hard, but I think I've had a lot of luck too. And so if anybody wants some advice or tips, feel free to reach out to me. You can hit me on
Amazing,
Facebook, you can hit me
amazing.
on LinkedIn,
Okay, young producers, young agency
yeah.
owners. My God, this might be the best offer ever made on this podcast for agency side people. Honestly, like,
So
what are you waiting for?
happy to talk to anybody, and it's not just a veiled way for me to pitch you a product. If I think it's a great fit, I'll bring it up. I won't hard sell, but 80% of the time people say, hey, can I pick your brain? I don't even bring it up. I'm happy to give somebody 30 to 60 minutes of my time. That's the first thing. So please reach out. I'd love to connect. I'd love to talk to more people. And the second thing is I have a newsletter, which you can find on my LinkedIn profile. It's about how I'm building the agency today. So if you want to see how I'm building a captive agency towards 100 million in premium. I release that every 2 weeks. Again, I don't charge anything for it, but it's kind of got three sections. The first section is an update on growth or sales and kind of how we're getting that. The second part is always a process that I'm breaking down and how I'm trying to put a process in my agency. Sometimes it's about how to leverage customer service. Sometimes it's about automation. And then I have a small spot at the end where it's just like, what did I find interesting this week? What am I reading? What am I watching? What did I find interesting? So would love for people to follow that. But again, those are two free things I can do to help people out today. So.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. I've got to run to my next
Thank
podcast.
you.
Do not leave yet because we need to finish
Okay.
uploading, but thank you.
Sure. Thanks so much.